The two-player link cable mode in 1990's Radar Mission takes typical Battleship gameplay, but Nintendo-fies it in interesting and unexpected ways. First is the plainly named Game A mode, which follows the standard rules of Battleship but adds some options to make gameplay a little more entertaining. Not only can you adjust the size of the grid to a small, medium, and large layout, the player also has access to the aircraft option. If selected, a one-tile-sized plane will launch from the aircraft carrier on the 15th turn, moving a little bit with each turn. And this little bugger counts as one of your ships, so you'll need to take it out to claim victory. The near-miss option provides an audio cue when your missile is within proximity of hitting its target, which is a nice quality of life feature as it can speed up the pace of play. And although it doesn't change gameplay in any way, each player can also assign themselves a commanding officer avatar. You can choose between these hardened professional warriors, but there's this one dopey hillbilly that looks like he would do an awesome job commanding a crew of seamen and maintaining the integrity of a vessel worth an ungodly amount of money. You can also keep track of your opponent's cursor movements on your screen while you're waiting, but the positioning isn't precise, which I think was purposely designed so you won't know if your opponent will hit your ship until after the cutscene plays, keeping the tension high. Speaking of cutscenes, each attack displays this little nifty battle animation which looks good coming from an early Game Boy release. And tapping a button displays the perspective of your opponent, letting you know what tiles are still available at a glance. There's also a little victory screen at the end, and this conclusion also provides some informative stats about the match. So as a quick summary, it's classic Battleship, but the inclusion of the extra options and quality presentation is more or less on par with Mindscape's version of Game Boy Battleship, which launched 2 years later. However, there's a massive difference found in the head-to-head Game B mode. Instead of being a slow-paced, turn-by-turn random guessing simulator, Game B essentially turns Battleship into a first-person real-time shooter. It has some slight Space Invader vibes too, as you move left to right and target enemies in the distance by shooting upward. And there's two ways to win. You can either destroy all the opponent's ships, or you can try to just take out your opponent's main vessel. And you need to time your shots accordingly as you launch them into the distance. And the sense of speed with the parallax effect is way better than it has any right to be for a 1990 Game Boy game. The HUD is impressive too. It might look a little complex at first, but it maintains all the info you need to make informed decisions. You see, you can only shoot when your ship is at the surface, but you're free to dive below the water at will to escape attacks and plan your next move by looking at the position of the enemy ships on the radar. Also, when you're near your opponent's sub, you get a little audio cue. Battleship is a game that really only works when each player has their own screen, and this Game B mode is no exception, even though it's a real-time shooter. And if that wasn't enough, the player can shoot the money icon to get a bonus like a better sonar, faster movement, and increased firepower. While Game A's standard Battleship game is fine, I mean, it's Battleship, you're either gonna love it or you hate it, but the real-time gameplay of Game B is where it's at. If you were going to go through the hassle of connecting a link cable with a friend, why even bother with Game A when Game B is way more interesting, even though Game A is still perfectly fine and an acceptable way to play classic Battleship? And as one extra fact for the day, the real-time Battleship gameplay is actually the precursor to Nintendo's Steel Diver on 3DS. Sorta like how everyone forgets that Nintendo's Wave Race series actually started on Game Boy. The same goes for Kirby. So without Nintendo's handheld, who knows if we ever would have gotten those fan-favorite sequels. At the time of this video, Radar Mission is not available on the Switch Online Game Boy app, but I would be shocked if Nintendo didn't include it at some point. Including online multiplayer would be awesome too, so you can play this shooter with a friend, but don't dismiss the seemingly standard Battleship gameplay because Game B is the highlight of this forgotten title and it simply doesn't get the recognition it deserves. But what do you think? Did you know about Nintendo's Radar Mission? What do you think about the surprisingly unexpected Game B mode, and what other forgotten Game Boy games got their start on Nintendo's handheld in addition to the Mana series? Let me know in the comments. And for tons more link cable absurdity you never had the chance to play for yourself, see the links to my dedicated playlist in the description. Until next time, thank you for watching, and game on!